Hey, Will, good to see you. I'm glad to see your mustache is still alive.
Yeah.
That's
Still
great.
got the mustache going. Yeah, what do you guys,
Is the spirit gum keeping that on, or is it just...
Yeah, what is it with people that have mustaches that they're two halves? That they don't like yourself. You can't grow a full mustache across the full lip.
You know who was cursed with that too? Clark Gable. Look him up.
Oh, boy.
Welcome to SmartLess.
SmartLess.
So, Will, while you've been out of town, Sean has discovered Invisalign.
Oh, I know.
And it's he's just popped it in his head. Why do you need it for a podcast, guy?
I have to wear 20 hours a day, and I just had it in before we
Well,
started.
let this be one of the hours that you don't.
Yeah. We get 4 hours without it.
No, it's just better to keep it in as much as I can. But you know,
much better for who?
it's just I just want to
Not
get
for the listener.
my teeth are going like crazy.
No,
but
they're actually not. Your teeth are totally fine, and I think you've fallen into the trap of sort of vanity, health.
well, I don't know. My teeth are going crooked.
They're not.
Yeah, this one is over
No,
here.
they're not. They were always crooked.
No.
Why don't you just allow one little flipper, one little fang, like everyone else has one that's a little askew,
Yeah,
and just
this
be
one.
less than perfect?
I got this one down here.
They are. They're pretty like screwy. I'm just getting older, and I want to get ahead of it because they started going crazy.
Pun. Hey, what about yesterday, Will? Sean and I were having a meeting with Amanda at a very nice restaurant with a very respectable person you've heard about.
I've heard about, yeah.
And an old snaggletooth pops out his headgear
Well, you
at
have
the table into his little dish, or
Yeah,
the
you
little
have
snap
to.
dish that he keeps in his pocket.
You can't eat with it on.
Abel does the same thing.
But why don't you
Well,
go
Abel's
to the
13.
bathroom and take that out instead
Jason,
of
it's
having?
not gross.
He's got to suck the saliva out of it before he puts it in the tray, and we've got a guest.
Yeah, no,
the
I know. I know. Look, I'm just struggling to get through every day.
How do you sound? How's it?
I had a lisp.
How's your? Huh?
I had a lisp.
I said to Sean the other day. I said to Sean, "Are you getting Invisalign because you wanted a lisp, just in case people didn't know you were gay?" What are you? What are you?
Yeah,
It's called the gay tray. And
None of this goes in the show. None of this is in the show.
yes,
To
that has
eliminate-
to go in the show.
if you're looking to pull a question mark off your profile, try gay tray.
A question mark.
A gay tray. Well, I had a little bit of a lisp before. Now it's worse. I'm getting through it. I'm getting through it.
Okay, well, if you hit a couple of
But I did just have
tough S's in this interview, we're going to ask you to pull it out.
I don't like my chair.
Okay,
This
so
was the
pause.
first.
Let's
Yeah,
pause the
okay,
interview.
You guys stay where you are. Keep talking. I don't like my chair.
Okay, we will.
Okay. Gosh, that's so much better.
What kind of chair did you get?
Just one that wasn't. It was on wheels, and I'm on a hardwood floor, so it was like sliding all over the place.
Are you okay? Are you okay?
You just need a sandbag. Get a shot bag in there for you.
I don't know, man. I should.
All right.
Yeah.
Are you guys? Have we caught up? We really haven't caught up that much.
haven't really
but
caught up, I know.
we've got
I
a
know, we
high
haven't
level
seen each
guest
other.
waiting, and Will's in Atlanta. I haven't seen him for a couple weeks.
I know.
Yeah.
My heart
We
hurts.
miss you.
I've
I
seen
miss you guys so
Sean.
much. I'm coming home really soon.
When are you coming
Yeah.
home?
When do you come home?
I'm going to be home Tuesday.
Did you sleep? Yesterday we had a...
I did. I talked to Sean last night. I was so wrecked. Have you ever heard me that tired before, Sean?
No, not in my whole life.
And I just got. I was about to go to bed, and Sean called.
I can't
thought,
believe
well,
you
this is
picked up.
maybe there's some kind of an emergency with the Invisalign, and I should pick this up. And maybe he choked on it.
I got
you know what
stuck.
I mean? Yeah, he thought it was like one of those sort of glass noodles or something that he got from, and then he had
A
chewed
chin
on
chin
it.
special.
Yeah. And so I picked up, and then he was telling me about the dinner because obviously I couldn't be at the dinner with you guys. It was concerning stuff that we do together, and I just was like, and he goes, oh my God, and I literally just go, can I call you? Can I call you tomorrow?
I go, yeah, why did you even pick up? I was like,
I realized I don't miss you that much, and let's get to our guest. Guys, Put all your dumb away and smarten up. Our guest today is a bright fella, and he has opened our eyes to quite a bit over the past few years. He's a graduate of Yale Law School. Wow. He's a member of the New York Bar. He has a PhD in political science from Oxford University, where he studied as a Rhodes Scholar, and he served as a State Department official in Afghanistan and Pakistan. What have you two done?
Same.
Went to the gym.
He has spent the last decade or two doing some of the most important investigative journalism in our country, both in print and through his production company. His recent and most high-profile work has revealed many interesting and shocking facts about some of the most famous power figures in our country, like Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Les Moonves, and, of course, Harvey Weinstein. Folks, please welcome Ronan Farrow.
Whoa.
Wait a minute. Ronan Farrow.
Let's tighten up.
How are you?
This is amazing.
Farrow.
Ronan came to the show this summer.
Did he?
Goodnight Oscar. And
Yeah,
it was so great
I
to
did.
see
I
you.
saw Goodnight Oscar. It was amazing. I mean,
thanks.
you can really tinkle the ivories.
Well,
what the
can't
hell?
he?
That's a
You should see him play piano.
Ronan, did you go backstage and compliment Sean?
Yes.
No, he was
that I did.
very
You did?
nice. And I gushed over you, as I will today. Just a huge fan.
Well, the
So
feeling's mutual.
you're a sophisticated
I'm a fan
New
of all
Yorker.
three of you.
Thank you, Ronan, and us of you.
That's
Thank you
generous
for
of
even
you.
saying it, even if it's not true. We appreciate it.
No, it's very true. Also, by the way, the gravelly baritone from you, I was like, stifling saying something. It was so turned on when you just
Isn't
came
it?
on and were like,
It's
Yeah.
real
Are you
deep.
talking to Jason?
Yeah, no, not me.
no, I'm talking to you,
I
Will.
think he's talking about me.
Ronan, you've got a Ronan, you've got a voiceover quality voice. Have you ever done any?
Do I? I love hearing that
Listen
because
to
I
listen
like
to that.
very lightly dabble in anime and video game voice acting.
Oh, really?
Is that true?
Yeah, just because that I'm a nerd than anything else. Like I did. I think I play a character called Mitsubishi Man who has like 3 lines in one Miyazaki movie.
Really?
Mitsubishi Man. It's a guy who will fix your catalytic converter with no questions asked.
Yeah. Or your air conditioner.
Now, you are, as I said, you're a sophisticated New Yorker that frequents the arts. Can you confirm for me this thing where if you go see a play and you have a recognizable name, you are obligated to go
yeah.
backstage,
Oh, yeah,
Jason's
introduce
obsessed
yourself.
with this.
I
Well,
know
I
he is.
just I need
I'm
to
with
know
you.
if this
I'm
is
with
real.
you.
If you don't go
It's so funny
backstage,
how much he loves talking about
regardless of whether you know anyone in the cast, if you're somewhat known, if you don't go backstage, they know about it and they think you hated the show, and so you kind of have to go backstage, say, "Hi, I'm famous. You're
You don't
famous.
have to.
Love the show."
Let
him answer.
I love this runner through the different episodes of this show. It's one of the bits of commentary I love with you on your interactions with other famous people and the ways in which those are great or not great. But it sounds like mostly you do a little theater of it's not all great, but then all the points you make are about how great it is.
Yeah.
Jason, well, you should also know that he's also trying to gauge because he's been famous since he was really young. So he's looking back at his life and he's
Right.
like, how many times have I been
How
a
long
dick?
have I been rude?
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of
Well,
it.
the truth is, I think about this a lot, because I also had this crucible of tabloid bullshit
Of course.
around me,
Yeah, for
as
sure.
a kid, and then
Why?
and then I did work that got me even more. What happened?
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think about it a lot, and the particular kind of work I do, where it's an occupational hazard to piss people off, who then either like go to jail, or get fired or something, and then they have nothing but time and money to come after me.
Right.
There's a genuine mix of good and bad in the kind of.
Well, I want to get
profile
into that,
experience.
but quickly let end this silly question of mine. I just find it like, hey, you're famous, I'm famous.
did I
That's
go
why I'm
backstage?
backstage. But is that
Yeah.
true? Is that an acceptable thing in New York culture, just to go back simply because you're also famous?
It does seem to always happen. And I think there's a bit of a sense of obligation, right, that you all must experience if
So
if you
it is a
know
thing.
someone in the show or peripherally are connected to them, then it feels like a little bit of an omission.
That's the rule.
Yeah.
Thank you for your indulgence. Now, let's get to what you were talking about, because it was deeper in my question lineup here, but let's get right to it about, your incredible investigative journalism has yielded some unhappy folks on the other side, I would imagine. So
Very much so.
How do you sort of get yourself ready for the possible blowback? Like, I mean, all the way up to and including, do you have 24-hour-a-day security? Or is that something that you ever had to consider?
I don't. I mean, I hesitate to say it to create an opening for people, but I've been followed around and staked out and had to like not be in my apartment or move actually in one case.
Crazy.
The weirdest of like physical surveillance coming after me thing was not even the getting followed around, but when I did some reporting that ultimately was at the heart of the first of those Trump indictments about the hush payments during the election.
The catch
it
and kill
involved
thing?
his relationship. Yeah, exactly. The catching and killing of stories on his behalf by the National Enquirer.
Yeah,
right.
And the Enquirer, which was led by some very vindictive people, and in some ways was a sort of blackmail or blackmail adjacent business model that they had come up with. There were people seducing me. They published my like sexts with someone. So like you can imagine the trust issues like forever.
But they've been very good about surveillance and I put in quotes research for years and years and years. That's sort of their model, right? So they had a bunch of resources.
And I got all these messages from celebrities who have been brutalized by them. And endured similar things, saying like, God, thank you for writing about this. But despite all of that, I haven't gone to the place of getting around the clock security. I don't even know how I would make that work economically. And the truth is, I don't want to overstate the case. Like I'm very conscious with the work I've done in different parts of the world. I actually did a film with two wonderful filmmakers, Heidi Ewing and Rachel Grady. That was just up for an Emmy. Bravo to them. I can take very little credit because they did everything on the creative end. But following journalists under threat through the pandemic.
Yeah.
Wow.
So seeing a lot of those stories of people whose lives are in jeopardy all the time, I'm very conscious of the fact that this is a much lower grade thing I experience. I'm in a country with good rule of law. And like it's psychologically taxing. But the actual sort of getting followed around height of threats to physical safety, I feel is something that ebbs and flows, and I've been okay without heavy security.
Right, but like, you're talking about endangered, right? I mean, this was about the sort of the encroachment kind of on press freedoms, and do you feel like maybe this is kind of the start of that possible encroachment here by leaning on folks like you that are uncovering necessary truths that we all need to know about, but they're trying to keep that stuff down by intimidating journalists. Is that a creeping problem in this country?
Well, I certainly agree with the idea that it is a creeping problem, broadly speaking, whether I'm representative of that or not.
Yeah.
And I think it's something we need to talk about more because it's not just journalism that's at stake. It's a sign of encroaching fascism, right? This is not a new thing in history. Mm-hmm. It's one of the tactics that gets deployed, this characterization of the press as an enemy of the people that we saw during the Trump administration. That is tale as old as time. That's sort of the first thing to try to separate the public from the facts and reduce accountability so that people can pursue
don't believe what you hear
power unjustly. Yeah.
It feels like the first play in the playbook is to muddy the waters, and if you can do that, and then you can, then people just don't know what to believe, so they can't.
It's a free for all.
Right, it's a free for all. So you can't forget reading about the truth. You can't discern between because you can't trust any of it, right? And that's what they want. And if you can build that level of distrust, then you're winning.
It'll never win. It'll never win.
And of course, the press is imperfect. So and sometimes its own worst enemy. I mean, I've done a lot of writing about the brokenness of media institutions and the suppression of important stories and stuff, and I've experienced some of that. I occupy an odd place in this discourse because I've been on all sides of it, because it's hard for people, I think, to absorb this as a truth. The skepticism about the existence of journalists that aren't motivated by partisanship is very extreme right now. So when I do a story about that adversely affects a Democrat, and then a story that adversely affects a Republican. It's like each of those constituencies affected doesn't see the other piece of what I'm doing. So I'll get moments where like Tucker Carlson is doing a really flattering monologue about how I'm like heroic for exposing some Democrat. I never agreed to do that show, to be clear, as a matter of principle. But like it was an odd, strange bedfellows thing that the right was very into some of this reporting when it suited them. But then I'd do reporting that was unflattering to a Republican, and I'd get the opposite. I'd get all this like blowback and reputational smears and stuff. So yeah, it's a time I'm very disillusioned with in terms of the threats to the press.
Do you see a fix? I know it's such a general question, but do you see a fix to this issue about how people now absorb the news that they get? Obviously, it's again a topic that's a tale all the time. Is everybody's fed what they want to read and what they want to absorb and digest? How do you break through to get the truth out to everybody all at once? Is there a person? Is there an outlet? Is there a thing? Is there a future where all of us will get all the same facts at the same time?
It's really hard.
Sean,
I don't think we're going back to that.
Sorry to interrupt, but Sean, you're starting to sound like Jason.
I know.
Jason always wants it.
Sorry.
He's always,
I want answers.
You've had such an
It's spreading.
Isn't there an absolute truth that we can then just refer to?
Can we fix this before
I
the
really
end
like
of the
that
day?
aspect of this show.
And it's really naive.
There is, whether you guys want to cop to it or not, there's an idealism in these conversations that you
For
have.
sure.
It's
For
really
sure.
Called
refreshing.
blissfully
It's really
ignorant.
nice.
Yeah,
Sure.
we're simple folks.
But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry, I just wanted to point that out.
I don't think there's an easy answer to this. I don't think we're going back to the Walter Cronkite monoculture. And I don't think we're going back to the same kind of trust in institutions. There's a lot of things that feed into this. The declining trust in institutions is in all sectors. It's particularly acute with media, but it is a general trend line. Technology obviously changes this in an irreversible way. Particularly the kind of the greedy algorithms that have come to understand that extremism and misinformation sells better, generates more clicks. And experts on radicalization talk about this a lot, that the way those algorithms work is like if you get someone, like I did all this work unmasking people in security camera footage during the January 6th rioting. In the siege of the Capitol, and there was a crowdsourced movement.
Can you not?
They were just tourists, Ronan.
Ronan,
What is it?
have you never seen
Anyone
tourists
can see it.
touring before?
Did you not see any of the footage? It's clear as day.
Them
They're
tour?
walking
They were
through.
touring.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's it. That's what my story said, actually. Like these lovely tourists.
Sure.
The crowd was like scrubbing through these videos frame by frame, like using facial recognition and trying all sorts of ways to find these people. And I was able to identify a few collaborating with those people who were doing that crowdsourced movement at a time when they were on the run and had not surrendered themselves to the FBI, but there were wanted posters and stuff. And it was, I highlight that context partly because you wouldn't think they would be confessional at a moment like that, but they all were. And the through line, obviously each case was different, was definitely this phenomenon we're talking about. Like it's the Pennsylvania mom who has 8 kids and she gets on Facebook and it's showing her extremist stuff. And they happen to grab someone like that who's already mad at mask mandates. And then they just get fed more and more content of escalating
Pliable,
extremism.
and they got her.
Yeah, and it's the I don't mean to put sole blame on that, but it's a definite factor, and it goes to the point that you're making, that everyone is sort of in their own bubble, consuming things that they agree with, and it encourages them to dig in more deeply rather than do the thing we should all be doing, obviously, which is to be open-minded to the facts, wherever they may lead.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
Thank you to Helix for supporting SmartLess. Now, listen, if you're like me, when you go to sleep, you like your sleep to be similar to, getting in the way of some sort of a tranq dart, and these people at Helix, they know how to fire it, and it'll hit you right between the eyes, okay? Thump. That's what my incredible Helix Midnight mattress It really does for me. So the Helix lineup offers 20 unique mattresses, including the award-winning Luxe Collection, the newly released Helix Elite Collection, a mattress designed for big and tall sleepers, and even a mattress made just for kids. All right, so the Helix Elite Collection, it includes 6 different mattress models, each tailored for specific sleep positions and firmness preferences. Nervous about buying a mattress online? You don't need to be. The Helix Sleep Quiz takes into account for individual sleep preferences to match you and your partner with the perfect mattress for you. You really want to feel like you're knocked out? You want that Helix Midnight. You want some sort of a light, restful sleep? I'm sure they got one for that. You want something that's perfect for naps? I'll bet they got some kind of a nap mattress. These people have it covered. Your personalized mattress is shipped straight to your door. It's free of charge. Don't want to take my word for it? It's fine. Helix Sleep has over 12,000 5-star reviews, so you don't even need to believe me. Listen, Helix is offering 20% off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners. Go to helixsleep.com/smartless. This is their best offer yet, and it will not last long. With Helix, better sleep starts right now. By supporting Helix, you're allowing them to support the show. Go purchase your Helix and thank us later for your best night's sleep. helixsleep.com/smartless. We get support from Storyworth. With this holiday season, I want to give a gift to my loved ones that makes them feel special and unique, just like the relationship we share. That's why I'm giving everyone I care about Storyworth. Storyworth is an online service that helps you and your loved ones preserve precious memories and stories for years to come. It's a thoughtful and meaningful gift that connects you to those who matter most. Every week, this is how it works. Every week, Storyworth emails your relative or friend with a thought-provoking question of your choice from their vast pool of possible options. Each unique prompt asks questions you've never thought to ask, like, what's the bravest thing you've ever done in your life? Or if you could see into the future, what would you want to find out? See? So after 1 year, Storyworth will compile all of your loved one's stories, including photos, into a beautiful keepsake book that you'll be able to share and revisit for generations to come. Sounds great, right? So reading the weekly stories helps connect you with loved ones, no matter how near or far apart you are. So I don't know. You can hear it in my voice. What you're hearing is excitement about the holiday seasons coming forward, and that I get to use this Storyworth. I'm a little fired up. With Storyworth, I'm giving those I love most a thoughtful, personal gift from the heart and preserving their memories and stories for years to come. Go to storyworth.com/smartless and save $10 on your first purchase. That's storyworth.com/smartless to save $10 on your first purchase. Happy holidays, y'all. SmartLess is sponsored by BetterHelp. Now, here in my family, we love giving gifts, but sometimes, we'll sort of like, give each other helpful suggestions or want to be surprised. Certain members of the family like to be surprised. Other members don't. It all does. Everyone's got their own different thing. But here's the thing. You get to decide how you give to yourself, right? And the holidays are a great time to do that. So whether it's by starting therapy, going easier on yourself during tough moments, or treating yourself to a day of complete rest, whatever it is, remember to give yourself some love this holiday season, okay? Like, for instance, therapy is something that I've given to myself over the years. My goodness, I could always take more and more and more. But every time I gift myself that, I feel like I've unwrapped a package of happiness and clarity, right? Yes, you get it. All right. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. In the season of giving, give yourself what you need with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/smartless today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/smartless.
And now, back to the show.
I'd like to get into our guest a little bit here about where one gets the amount of intelligence you've managed to pack inside your head there.
Yeah.
Now, was there a lot of did you eat a lot of wheat germ as a kid? Was there like carrots
It's
or
always diet.
I
That's
don't
it.
know.
If you feed your kid enough wheat germ, they will get a Pulitzer Prize.
That's
It's
what
just-
I've
it's
heard.
proven every
Okay,
time.
confirmed.
It's in the
Great.
box.
Yeah.
Yep.
At the bottom of the box.
What do you eat to become a Rhodes Scholar? Because I
No,
want to
that's wheat germ and carrots, I'm thinking.
I'm always tempted, by the way, when I get some variation on this question to say something truly insane. Like, I just eat the Joe Rogan thing. Like, Joe is right. I eat 6 tins of sardines every day. That's
Is that what he
cold
said?
plunge,
actually the truth.
and then you cold plunge. You cold your plunge.
Yeah, that's it.
Cold plunge your
Does
way
he
to
really
Oxford.
swear by sardines?
Yeah. There was a little news item before recently where he
boy.
apparently thought he was getting poisoned because he was like getting too much mercury from the sardines.
Sure.
I
Arsenic
think
or
about
something.
sardines and I get bloated.
No,
I
they're.
can't- I
Oh
gotta
no,
stay away
Jason,
from
they're
them.
very.
They're
very
really
rich in
good,
nutrients.
and they
They're
are very
good for
healthy
you.
in
There's
moderation.
a lot of sodium,
Well,
guys.
because they're not
no.
predator fish. They're petite.
They're full of salt,
prey
and my
fish,
face
so
can't
that's
have
always
it.
safer in terms of the contaminants.
Now,
Your face does look good. I want to do what you're doing.
I appreciate you. I've been
No, he
slimming for
doesn't.
this interview.
He doesn't. No.
Quiet Will.
He's
So
like a
you
milk
skipped
bag
a
when you
few
touch
grades.
him.
Quiet. You skipped a few grades in school. You entered college at a very young age. I want to know how that sort of educational
few
experience.
grades?
Yeah, a few grades. What was it?
It was
specifically?
7.
My
It
research.
was 7 grades. I did a Doogie Howser thing.
No, you did not.
No, no, no.
That's why I'm so socially maladjusted, guys.
No. There's only 12 grades before college. You skipped 7 of those.
I skipped 7 of them. Yeah, I went to college at 11.
Are you serious?
Holy shit!
crazy.
Yeah.
Wait a second. Wait, Ronan, you went to Yale at 11?
No, I went to Bard for undergrad at 11. I got into Yale Law at 15, 16. I actually took a little time then to do, I did some UNICEF work. I was
amazing.
like a youth spokesperson in a couple of
I
African
mean,
countries.
I'm really proud of my children, but a little less now.
Hey,
This is
hey,
amazing.
Ronan, ask these guys what the last book they read was.
Yeah. I
Oh,
think it might
are
have
we
been-
avid readers here or no?
Well,
this is a smart group, jokes
I
aside.
enjoyed Tom Sawyer a lot.
Yeah.
Does that count?
It's going
Huckleberry
back. huh?
Finn.
Wait,
No?
I have
Sean,
a-
what about you?
What the last book I read?
Last book. Pamphlets don't count.
The Giving Tree. I don't know. So
Yeah.
This guy's writing books. Ronan, when was
know.
when was your last book that you wrote? How long ago was that?
Catch and Kill 2019. I think I have the next one that's going to be a book though. I'm doing this sort of
Are we making news
transmedia
right now?
approach.
We like to make news on this.
No, I'm not, I can't. I can never get into specifics on
right.
on like investigative topics that haven't hatched yet
Of
because
course.
I always further to the point of like people can be skeptical or not, but I am genuinely led by what's the biggest but also most interesting and hopefully humanistic story. Like how can I ferret out the intricacies of the characters involved and be compassionate in the portrayal of even the bad people and so forth. And it's not about politics. And part of that being led by the facts and making sure that those are the kinds of stories that I do and the way that I do them is I have to be willing to like throw them in the trash if they don't pan out. I've done 6 months of work on a really giant political story that I didn't think was wrong factually, but it felt like it wasn't the misconduct being alleged wasn't serious enough, and the way the facts came together wasn't bulletproof
We're
enough.
fine with hearsay. If you want to just let us know just the rumors.
Yeah, I'll give you the gossip.
The gossip.
So I can't talk about specifics, but yeah, I'm doing this like transmedia approach in a lot of cases where I'll do a print story for the New Yorker, and then either during or after or some combination do it as a podcast or an HBO series. My documentary business is at HBO, which has been interesting because I think I grew up with like a love of film, and I got my start as a TV news anchor, and I do love being able to tell the stories in different ways.
But what is it? One of my questions, I think Sean was saying, he was going to ask you this too. How do you pick? And I'm sure you've answered this a million times. I apologize, but what guides your picking of stuff to investigate?
It's a matrix of different factors. I think you want to assess. Will it potentially do some good in the world? Not in an activist way where it's not an op-ed when I'm doing this particular kind of relatively clinical investigative work. But you do want to...
Find some social relevance in it?
Yeah, you wanna pick the stories where something potentially could change, not necessarily because you're proposing a specific change, but because those are the exciting, meaningful stories a lot of the time that cause people to sit up and take notice. And then you are looking at not just the strengths of the facts and constantly assessing as the facts come in, okay, is this like a slam dunk story on the journalistic side, but also, especially as you move between those different formats, is it a narrative arc that people can relate to and understand emotionally? Are there people involved that are rich, complicated characters that people will potentially connect to?
Talk to us about the thing that really drew you to public service in government and how that changed or didn't change. Meaning, is it the same thing that drew you into journalism? Was it a sense of altruism that then transferred into something different, or did you find the same draw in both?
Well, it's like probably for most of us to some extent or other, there's a mix of altruism and belief in public service and caring about other people and narcissism and ego and wanting to be successful, and that led to most of these decisions you're asking about. I was very fortunate to grow up with my mom, who is a big fan of yours, Jason, by the way. You
I'm a
guys
big
worked
fan of
together
hers.
a lot.
I'm so lucky to have
Yeah, she
worked with
really
her.
liked you.
Yeah, I like her a lot.
Yeah. I hope you guys get to work together again. I'm trying to encourage her to
Wait, what
work
was
more.
that?
This was actually a film for the Weinstein Company called The X with Zach Braff and Amanda Peet and Charles Grodin and Mia.
Oh yeah.
I played an asshole in a wheelchair.
Wait, was Amy in that?
What's that?
Was
Yeah,
Amy
she
in
I
was.
think Amy was in that.
Amy was
Yeah,
in that.
and
Amy was in
Armisen.
that.
And
What was it
Yeah.
called?
Yeah.
It was called The X.
It was actually, if I recall from the deepest recesses of my mind, it was a script at the time titled Fast Track, and it was like a workplace comedy. And then Harvey
yeah.
Weinstein acquired it and did like a very Harvey Weinstein thing, which is he did reshoots and recut it and changed the premise that it was then called The X, and it was a relationship comedy.
Yeah, I'm not sure where the title change came from, but I do remember very clearly the whole reshoot scenario where, my character, I played an asshole in a wheelchair going after Zach Braff's girlfriend, Amanda Peet, and his Zach Braff's character's theory was that I was faking it in the wheelchair. That he's making grounds on my lady because my lady feels bad for him, and he's not even injured. He's faking it in the wheelchair, and the truth is that I really was somebody that couldn't walk. And then they tested the movie, and my character was testing a little bit too likable because he was an asshole in a wheelchair. He's fun to hate.
I thought you were going to say, because I'm so likable.
And so they figured, well, now that's making Zach Braff's character seem very unlikable because he's the lead and he's trying to, expose me. Anyway, so their big idea was let's make it so that he really is faking it to adjust and so that was going to be the reshoot and was the reshoot. There was a big scene we had to reshoot where I stand up and I was like, well, wait a second. I don't know if I'd play the character if I knew he was faking it. And I had a phone call with Harvey Weinstein where I said to him, I said, what are the Screen Actors Guild rules where can you really just make me reshoot a scene that changes the character completely? And now I'm a guy who's faking it. And he's like, yep. You're doing it. It's like, okie doke. We shot like 30 pages of new pages.
Good talk.
Jesse, was that who directed
Yeah, Jesse Peretz directed
Peretz.
it. The great Jesse Peretz.
Wow.
Yeah.
God.
Anyway,
Well,
Mia was awesome.
While we're on the digression, I have been trying to encourage my mom to be more game to work. I think there was a period of time where she had so many bad industry experiences, and people really came after her. There was a Woody Allen bullshit, and she's such an incredible actress, and because of those experiences, because she started as a kid basically, and she was on Peyton Place as a teenager.
Yeah,
she doesn't fully own her talent in the way that I hope she can. Like every time she does something, people are so bowled over,
Yeah,
and it
she's so
gives
amazing.
people so much.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of just trying to encourage her to own that.
Yeah, well,
It's kind of absurd that you're talking about Mia Farrow.
Yeah,
Your
your mom.
Like in this way, like I wish she
She's
would
one of
really
the
get
great actresses.
Yeah,
She
exactly. I
is,
wish
yeah.
she'd really get out there and realize how good she is.
Yeah.
Because to someone from me who didn't grow up close to that sort of thing, I think, like, yeah, of course,
Pretty cool.
And you did grow up so close to that, and which must have. It's interesting that you, that you just went kind of 180 degrees away from that in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that you just went into academia.
Well, I did and I didn't. I did in the practical sense of the choices that I was making, but actually the philosophical underpinning very much comes from her. She is like altruistic, I think at times to a fault. It's genuine too. It's not performative. She really is like obsessed with helping people and has probably made like questionable decisions at times because of it. I mean, she adopted all of these kids with special needs, which was this beautiful, wonderful thing, but also a source of like much, much chaos in my childhood.
I was just going to ask that, yeah.
Yeah, so like it's complicated.
Did she ever pull over and try to pick up a hitchhiker because she felt like they needed a ride and it was just a real bad decision?
She was very much that kind of person, and I think it's taken a lot of being brutalized by the world to disabuse her of that.
Mother,
like,
do not slow down the car. What is
Yeah. But Ronan, from a perspective, you can talk about it as much, or we can cut it, or whatever. But just from a perspective of me growing up with a single mom and a large family, not nearly as large as yours, what was that like? Because I always say we kind of all had to figure out, even though we had an amazing mom, like your mom, my mom was incredible too, and ran a food bank for the poor and the homeless. And, some of the food we got was from the food bank because we were in that situation too. But so I put my mom on a pedestal too. At the same time, we had to kind of parent ourselves. And did you, growing up in such a large family, feel that sense? Because there's so many kids.
You'd have to ask my different siblings about their experience of that. My perception was always, this is one of the amazing things about her, she was incredibly attentive. Like, she knit every single one of us a Christmas stocking with our name on it and like a relevant graphic. As holidays were real rituals. So she, even in the midst of a lot of chaos and painful stuff and me getting dragged in and out of courtrooms and rammed through crowds of paparazzi and helicopters overhead, to get to school. There was a lot of, and also loss. So I had a lot of immediate family members die over the course of my childhood. So there's a lot there that didn't work. But one of the things that did work is what you're asking about. Like, she's an incredibly attentive mom.
Yeah, same.
Almost in a superhuman way. And all of that redounded to me really caring in my worldview about compassion and altruism. And look, I think there are pros and cons to this. The moral framework I was given was like, we're not really here. She would deny this, by the way, but my interpretation of it anyway is that I was taught not to care about personal happiness, that the first goal was you're here with privilege and responsibilities, and you must work to improve the lives of others. And that is the source of true happiness.
Wow.
But that's the very long-winded answer to your question, that I wanted to do things that helped others.
Well, how big is your therapist's yacht? Because
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff.
Here's the craziest thing. Well, I only did therapy for the first time, other than like court-appointed expert stuff in my childhood, which is probably why I then didn't leap to therapy after.
You would make a therapist so happy, though, because your ability to articulate your feelings and you are so beautifully vulnerable and human, and I bet you can have incredible conversations with a therapist. I mean, I've loved mine. I mean...
Well, I have found it late in life. Like during the pandemic, I was actually, it did take hitting a bit of psychological rock bottom. I had been driving so hard with the philosophy that we've been talking about. Like, I've just got to give and give and give. And to the point I made earlier about it being a cocktail of selfish and giving instincts, like I had been so scrutinized from such an early age and with so much expectation. I wanted to do things that were a 180 from my family. I wanted to be taken seriously. My early professional experiences where I'd be like talking about an infrastructure project in Pakistan, and they'd like want to ask me about my family and stuff just made me very committed to being so serious and such an overachiever that I could get out of that. And it took becoming so kind of souped up and like prominent in my own right for my work. I had to be involved in these like major kind of culture shifting moments to get out of that. And then finally I could do it. I could go on a book tour and never get asked about my family. Like I did it.
Yeah.
It had downsides though. Like I think I like alienated myself from people by over-credentialing.
Have you ever talked to Anderson Cooper about it? We talked to him a little bit about, like, he talked about
because he's gay. You must know him. He's
you
gay.
must know him. Yeah, that's what I guess.
We do all. I mean, I see him and Sean at the gay weekly meetings.
I knew it. I fucking hang on. Let me write this down. No, but I was going to say that I remember he had a very sort of similar answer when he would say that was the thing that was always the sort of the flag, the red flag when he was on a date. If how soon somebody asked about his mom, and of course, hilariously, he talked about how Andy asked him in like 10 seconds, but so they became good friends. But yeah, I mean that's a difficult thing, right?
I also have. Well, that's okay. I also have a very very famous friend of ours, very close that you would know. And this person comes from an extremely...
I don't know. Do you know Milton Berle?
This person comes from an extremely famous family that everybody knows. And this person, to your point, Ronan, would shun all questions, didn't want to talk about her family. Her identity is not that. I do not, I am this person over here. I've created this world for myself. And in doing so, through many years of evolution and growth, she learned the balance of embracing both, right? And bringing that in and not ashamed at all. It's just, it's your own personal identity and figuring out the path that's in the middle somewhere.
Uh-huh. I've had that journey myself. I remember vividly, so there's fame, and then there's this particular subgenre of fame that's particularly awful and enduring in a troublesome way of fame connected to generationally defining sex scandal. And there's just a kind of prurience and shock element that 30 years later does not go away. And I remember vividly running into Chelsea Clinton at some event, and this was before I, had done a lot professionally. I think it was right as I was getting out of law
school. I just recently met her. What a great woman. She's so. I
well,
really enjoyed
she's
meeting
probably
her.
one of the few people who has that very, very specific, awful shadow over her from childhood, and worse than me, right? Because she was in the White House dealing with it and all that. But similar in some ways. And I remember this is, prior to my having done any work in the world, and people really only knew me through that family stuff. And someone came up at this event and was like introducing me or saying hello to me in a way that foregrounded the family stuff. Like, oh, this is a Nepo baby or whatever. And she was so forceful. I don't know if she would even recall this, but she had the same chip on her shoulder that I had, was my reading of it, which may or may not be fair to her. But she was like, he's his own person. Like, he's done his own things. And I'm like, Chelsea, are you talking about you? And I do think like different people respond to that in different ways. But for me, I've learned the peril of that. First of all, because if you refuse to talk about it, people are just much more curious. Mm-hmm. Second of all, I think the wanting to dissociate yourself from it is very fair and understandable, but ultimately kind of finding peace in yourself does require reconciling all of those parts of you and all of those parts of your past.
Yes.
And drawing strength from it.
Yes. Yeah, and you got to get a lot of that managed before you start what becomes your new immediate family.
Yeah.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
Thank you to ZipRecruiter for their support. Now, the holidays are here. I've got a list of people to get stuff for. Some of them are sort of, they're tough to buy for. They're very specific. Others are sort of just like happy to open up something. I give this one person, I just give an empty box every year, but it's beautifully wrapped, and they're thrilled. No, that's not true, but you get what I'm saying. If you're a business owner, guys, you need to grow your team. But if you're a business owner, guys, stay with me here, and you need to grow your team, Your perfect gift is simple. You want a smart hiring solution? You look no further than ZipRecruiter. And right now, we're gifting it to you for free at ZipRecruiter.com/smartless. How is ZipRecruiter a gift to those who are hiring? ZipRecruiter uses smart matching technology to identify the most qualified people for a wide range of roles. ZipRecruiter lets top candidates know when they're a great match for your job to encourage them to apply. And the bow on top? If you see a candidate who's a great match for your job, ZipRecruiter makes it easy to send them a personal invite, so they're more likely to apply. Get it? Okay. So get your hiring wrapped up quickly with ZipRecruiter. 4 out of 5 employees who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Just go to this exclusive web address right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. ZipRecruiter.com/smartless. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/SmartLess. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. SmartLess is sponsored by ADT. ADT Self-Setup features everything from motion sensors to Google Nest cams with no long-term contracts. Easily install the ADT Self-Setup security system at your convenience. No heavy-duty tools are needed. And if you need help, ADT can provide virtual assistance along the way. So these guys are friendly too. Look at that. ADT Self-Setup grows, moves, and adapts as your needs change. You can add more products at any time, and your system easily moves wherever life takes you. It also features Nest cams that can tell the difference between a person, an animal, a vehicle, or with the Nest doorbell, even a package. Plus, when every second counts, you can trust ADT's 24/7 professional monitoring. You can view video of an alarm event and verify or cancel an alarm with just a tap. When the most trusted name in home security adds the intelligence of Google, you've got a home with no worries. Go to ADT.com today or call 1-800-ADT-ASAP. Google, Nest Cam, Nest Doorbell, and Nest Aware are trademarks of Google LLC. SmartLess is supported by GoodRx. Now, we are in a season where you got to kind of watch it or you're going to get a cold. You're going to get sniffles. You're going to feel ache. You're going to, it's out there. So you got to keep your head on a swivel. If you're feeling under the weather this cold and flu season, GoodRx is here to help. With big savings on prescription cold and flu meds and tons of information to help you and your family stay healthy this winter. With GoodRx, you can instantly find discounts, compare prices, and save up to 80% at the pharmacy. All you need to do is search for your medication on the GoodRx website or app and show your discount at the pharmacy. It's that easy. GoodRx is accepted at all the major pharmacies in your neighborhood, including CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aid, Vons, Walmart, Sam's Club, and many more. And remember, GoodRx is not insurance, but it works whether you have insurance or not. Even if you have insurance, GoodRx may beat your copay price. For big savings on cold and flu meds, plus discounts on your everyday prescriptions, go to goodrx.com/smartless. Support the show and get amazing discounts by visiting our URL at goodrx.com/smartless.
And now back to the show.
We all spend every single day of our lives with our mom, our dad, and our sibling until you're, 18, 20, whatever it is. You move out and then you see them less. And then eventually you meet the person that becomes your everyday person, your spouse. And then you meet your kids, when they're born, and you see the people you used to spend every day with maybe once or twice, 3, 4 times a year at holidays and stuff. So how are you now transitioning into that place of family, the new meaning of family for you, for all of us as we become adult children?
Yeah.
Do you idealize the notion of family? Talk to us about your personal life to the extent you're comfortable about. You said you want to have kids and all that stuff. Where does all that stuff sit with you right now?
Well, this goes back to the joke about therapy. I did actually, there was this moment in the pandemic where the work slowed down because the world was slowing down, but the attacks were still coming. And it was like every day or at all hours getting these crazy shakedown attempts, like letter, going back to the Inquirer example, like crazy letters from the Inquirer having retained like ideologue, right-wing, crazy lawyers who might have actually like brought a case saying, we're going to sue your pants off for defamation if you don't, pay us like some crazy, like a joke amount, like $50 million overnight. And all of these like reputational smears and people I'd pissed off trafficking dossiers, and once in a while they'd like make their way into the mainstream press. And it's interesting. I've since stumbled into all of this like serious peer-reviewed psych literature about how attacks that threaten your core sense of identity and place in society are actually at times more ready instigators of PTSD symptoms than even like threats of physical harm. That those are the ones that damage people the most. And it was helpful for me to understand that because for a long time, I kind of kicked myself and beat myself up over it. Like, I've been in war zones, I've been in dangerous situations, I've been followed around, but the shit I care about is like, what is page 6 saying,
Right. Right.
But it was really hard for me. And it finally did prompt me to start working on myself. And I did some, this goes to your question of like, how do I build my adult identity and my path towards hopefully being a good partner and maybe eventually a good parent. I started putting in the work, and I did a couple of years of cognitive behavioral therapy, and then found like a great, more traditional analyst. And I think those tools can work for some people, not work for some people. There's like good practitioners, bad practitioners, but I found someone great in the end, and that was genuinely helpful for me. And I think part of allowing myself to work on that was not stepping away from, but tempering the philosophy of like any minute I don't spend helping someone else, I am morally failing. Letting myself work for myself occasionally.
Taking care of
it was
number one.
extra hard for me to do that as someone who had always been in the press and people having these expectations.
Yes, but the example that you lived with, called your mother, is... we always, as we get to adulthood, we rebel in different ways. And some of those are like, I see what my mom did I'm speaking for myself. I see what she did. I see what she did to an extreme. And again, going back to the balance thing, which is the hardest for any human to do, is to balance, the good from the bad and where do I lie in between? And as much as you celebrate your mom and I celebrate my mom, there are extremes, know. And it's okay to recognize that and go, oh, where's me in all of this?
Yes.
Yeah, and you find your version of their advice and their guidance.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. Exactly that. And like we aspire to do it better than our parents did it.
Yeah.
And we're gonna fuck it up inevitably in new and exciting ways. And we have to just be kind both to the parents. Like, I think part of this path is you're not idealizing your parents, but you are greeting their complications with kindness and understanding. And then part of it is also being kind to ourselves, right, as we make those
Well, you have to
mistakes.
let yourself off the hook, and you also can't let past things. You can't use. I think that one of the traps that I know that I have fallen into in the past, and that I used to do more, was to use those past experiences and to make myself feel shitty about it, or to beat myself up about it. And believe me, if beating yourself up about it worked, I'd be cured. It doesn't work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just doesn't.
I know exactly what you mean. I mean, I really have to work on this in an ongoing way because I have the most punishing interior voice.
Yeah.
Just like anything I do that is not perfect, I am so cruel to myself. And I'm also I'm like a hypersensitized person to other people, and there's different bodies of literature that categorize that in different ways, but I'm like anxiously attached. I'm a super sensitive person. So there's these studies where people who exhibit those traits, they show them like videos of a face slowly morphing from one expression to another, and they detect the change earlier than other people, but they also have an inclination to draw conclusions from that prematurely.
I completely relate to that. I completely identify with that, and I call it thin slicing. And I've long felt like I have an ability to thin slice, and sometimes it to my own detriment. By the way, I also have a very punishing inner voice, and you're lucky because mine sounds like this. Mine is fucking like right here. Mine's like you.
Why am I so turned on again? By your cruel internal voice.
I tell you so.
I suspect most. I suspect most performers, and I'm not a performer per se, but I do like make a living on TV. There's a performative aspect or a communicative aspect. I think a lot of those people are probably hypersensitized in that way. And there's a nexus of the cruel interior voice and the public scrutiny and the hypersensitivity to the public scrutiny. Like, I care so much what other people think. I care so much about the random Twitter cruel tweet, and there's so much cruelty.
that gets a bad rap, though. You know, I think that it's such a healthy thing to be, I think, aware of as opposed to concerned with. It's just semantics. How you're coming across. I mean, it's certainly what the three of us do for a living with acting. That's our job. We're professional liars in the way in which we come across, right? We're trying to trick people. And so in that comes an inherent ability or need to know how you're coming across and to be concerned with whether that's an accurate perception.
First of all, the notion that when people say, and I've had it from people I grew up with who have nothing to do with entertainment, and they're like, they're all Canadian, so they all sound like this. Well, you guys care what you look like, eh? Or you care? And I'm like, yeah, everybody does, motherfucker. And nice try. And
it's called a mirror. If you have a mirror, you care too.
There wouldn't be any stores selling fashion, and there wouldn't be any makeup for sale, and there wouldn't be anything. So A, go fuck yourself, and B, that's how I. You know why? Because that's how I make my living, and we now live in a world where I get to hear everybody's opinion in real time from everywhere on the planet.
And it keeps you nicer if you're concerned or aware of what people think about you. I think to the extent you're able to handle it, then take it on, because it keeps you kind and it keeps you aware of other people. What is it that you do?
Well, but this is Jason. To interrupt for a moment, you're what you just expressed, what you have taken away from being in a firestorm of public opinion about yourself, it is not necessarily the norm. And I've seen all kinds of people who wind up very distorted by it. And it can lead to kind of more ego. But I'm fascinated by the fact that actually, to what I can observe, everyone in this group has taken from that experience all of these good, beautiful, caring things. Like, how do you do that? I mean, I hope that I'm achieving that myself, but I'm interested in how others get there.
You seem self-aware. I mean, I think it's about being, first of all, it's about who you surround yourself with.
Well, and also considering the sources. Yes. Like, consider the source. Like, anytime somebody writes a horrible thing about me, and there's been tons of stuff my whole life. Yeah. It's like you go, at some point, when you're much younger, I was like, oh my God, I'd cry and crawl in a corner. Now I'm like, oh, that person is miserable, not me.
When you were talking about your scary voice inside that chastises you, what is the thing that wakes that monster up the most? What do you do? What do you do that most disappoints you? What's your dumbest shit? Because you're such a smart, insightful guy. I can't imagine you doing something that would really warrant a real talking to.
It's a good point. Yeah, it is almost always not rational. And I've been shielded both by my, I think, generally good, strong moral code and instincts, and also surrounding myself with other people who have those qualities. Like, I've had points in my career very prominently where, I've been with very craven, corporate, power-hungry people who, when the rubber meets the road and there's, a tough story unfolding, they're awful, they're cowardly, and it's so disillusioning and disappointing. But I have over time been able to refine the sort of chosen family professionally, not just personally, to include more people who are sort of big-minded, big-hearted, have good values, and have good systems for enforcing those values. So, the New Yorker is this magical, esoteric place where all of these, intellectuals with tons of virtue. Not that they get it perfectly right all the time, of course, it's human beings, but I have been so impressed, even in cases where there's a disagreement about a story and I'm the reporter saying, like, I've worked on this for months, I want to get it out, here are all the arguments why. The counter-arguments are always rooted in, like, good journalistic ethics.
Yeah.
So I've been protected by that from the real mistake. Like, there haven't been inaccuracies in the story, even when they're under attack. It's withstood all of that. And I have gradually come to trust myself more and be less punishing because I've seen over time that I do make good decisions. And I think I am increasingly trusting of the idea that I can pull off both. I can scrutinize my decisions and learn each time to be better without being punished.
But you don't have one reoccurring blind spot. Like you're like
it's not
always an
it's
angry
not
driver
one.
And you're mad at yourself for honking at everyone.
Jason, what are the sorry, just quickly, I'm going to ask you, what are the things that you beat yourself up about? And I let me guess the first 5.
Yeah, I'm curious about this too.
First
You
5?
the first 5 you should.
Yeah.
I guess that. Let me rephrase. How did I write this down? I had said, Jason, here is my list of
No, my
Things
question
you'd like
to you,
to talk to me about?
Side Zoom.
fucking massive.
With all, you're just amazing. Your brain is gorgeous and beautiful. You're gorgeous and beautiful.
Yeah,
You're
as is your
kind.
skin and your hair.
Christ. Everything
The
is
fucking lips
amazing.
on him and everything.
I know, it's kind of incredible.
The what now?
All
Can I
this,
just spend more time with this group, please?
yeah, it's true.
I just got a call from HR, brother.
No,
Oh, wait,
do
I
it,
have a
do it.
question.
By the way, an aside on that, I've had work situations where, I guess ironically, given some of the work I've done on like sexual harassment and stuff, where I'm getting that treatment, like I'm getting objectified, and I'm just not a like self-actualized enough person to not like it a little. Like
Right.
I'm actually like, you know what? I'm good. I'm cool with this.
Tell me more.
Like I like this. I've gotten so much more validation over the years for like just the intellectual stuff
work,
that being a piece of meat is great when it happens.
Well, when you get into litigation, let the record show Sean started it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So wait, no. So actually, to that point, Ronan, with the intellectual stuff and all that fuels the fire in your belly, and you continue to do all that stimulates that gorgeous brain of yours. What beyond of that excellent work in your life excites you? What outside of all this? When are you silly? What do you let it go? All of that kind of stuff. Are you a video gamer? Like, what do you do?
I am, yeah. So it actually took me a lot of time to understand that stuff. I mean, this goes back to the broad philosophical conversation, right? That a life that's just about the work. I mean, I missed every major friend's wedding because I was like off interviewing a warlord. That's an actual thing that happened. I'm so sorry to my friend Jen, whose wedding I was supposed to sing at, and then I missed completely to go interview General Dostum in Afghanistan. Like I made that choice every time, and now I am making the choice to do the fun stuff too, to just find joy and yet keep the work going and have the work be informed by that. I think if you're kinder to yourself, you can be kinder to others. So yeah, yes. I love being social. I mean, I like going deep with small groups and one-on-one, but I also love I love video games. I love all nerd culture. I love sci-fi.
I do too.
I love
Oh
reading.
boy, here comes Sean and Scotty.
Read all the time. Are you a gamer, Sean?
No, not a gamer. Huge sci-fi.
Yeah, Sean and Scotty, they have
nice.
Star Trek night.
Yeah.
It's Star Wars. How
No,
dare
but I
you?
bet you would.
Yeah, I'm more a Star Wars guy, and I
Same,
really
and he's
admire
both.
the worldview of Star Trek kind of more. That it's more about intellectual curiosity, but I haven't taken the time to dig deep.
Yeah.
Hey,
No,
I haven't seen a lot of it, but let me guess. The good guys win? I mean, Jesus.
Says the guy with the gravelly voice and the mustache.
I want to start with all the old Shatner stuff. I want to really go back and take the time on that at some point.
Well, we're 16 minutes over here. I apologize, but I could talk to you for a whole day.
It's such a great
thank you for
conversation, and I
this.
really am sincerely such a fan of all of yours. I mean, Jason, I remember watching the pilot of Ozark. Or I guess it was a series order, so I'm using the term pilot reflexively. The first episode that you directed, and my ex turning to me and when your name came up in the credits and being like, "Is is Jason Bateman one of our great living directors? Is he like one of the best working TV directors we
Yes,
have?
I can answer.
So
that.
my name came up and he said, really?
I think he might be.
That is true.
Well, I had to discover that over the time that you were that too. And like even
it took a village. Thank you.
The first episode of The Outsider, like everything. Every time I see you directing something, I'm like, how are you
You're
so good
very,
at that
very
too?
kind.
Yeah.
You're very
Brilliant.
kind. Well, yeah, something sinks in after a while, and surround yourself with good folks, and there you get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, here's to more of that for
Thank
all
you,
of
my
you.
friend.
And thank you for being
very
so
much.
kind in this conversation.
Oh, it was so
Well,
easy.
thank you for joining us. Yeah, so
Ronan.
great talking to you and meeting you.
Ronan, thank you. We appreciate you so much for being here. And I hope
Thank you, pal.
Thanks, all of
I hope
you.
I get to see you on the streets of New York again.
Yeah, I hope I get to see
Yeah, I'd
all
love
of
to meet
more.
you in person.
Yeah, I'd love that
All
too.
right, pal.
Bye, guys.
All
Yeah,
right.
pal.
Enjoy your day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Ronan. Well, another boring
Oh my God.
prick that
Yeah.
just is no charm and doesn't know how to talk. What we got to start booking
Just
better
coulda-
guests.
Could have kept talking to Ronan Farrow.
That
Yeah, I
guy.
know.
Could have just kept talking to that guy.
I'm real sweet on that fella.
Handsome.
Let me tell you
smart.
something. Amanda's in a lot of trouble. Okay,
I know.
she's
Yeah.
in a lot of trouble.
Why? Sorry. Why? What?
I found myself really enjoying his company. Okay.
Oh.
No, that's a real interesting fella right
Yeah,
there.
agreed.
I cannot believe the guy went to college at 11.
When you said, "Are you kidding?" and I almost said, "Like, of course he's fucking kidding." Wait, he's not kidding.
Not kidding. 11.
I know, I thought
11
he was
years old
kidding.
at Bard, 15 at Yale.
I mean,
That's
incredible.
amazing.
Good Lord.
Can you imagine? Hey guys, anybody going to the frat party later? Like 15 years old.
Yeah. Well, good for him.
Hang
And
on. Sean, I didn't know you did impressions. That was
Yeah,
That was
thank you.
a
that's
college.
fantastic.
Hey guys,
That was a college-
anybody going to the frat party?
Hey
later?
guys, say, what's the big idea? I'm gonna bust this joint up. You sound like a fucking guys from a '30s film.
Hey, I want a hamburger sandwich. Yeah.
Now, Willie, you're there in Atlanta. I see you're in.
Yeah. And be sure to hang on to your sales receipt.
What do you got the rest of the day out there, Willie?
Well,
Oh, we got another record later on.
We
Yeah.
do. I got some hockey later on. After I've already been to the gym. I did
Really
the gym.
sorry about the Kings waxing your dumbass maple leaves the other day.
It's Leafs, you fucking dick.
What did I say? Did I say maple leaves?
The leaves.
It's plural. He was doing plural.
Leaves.
All the players are the leaves.
Yeah, exactly.
That is the plural, okay? And it was
Plural
about a
is-
battalion in the Canadian Army, World War I.
So wait.
Maple Leaf Battalion.
So if you
That's
have
why
a,
Conn Smythe named them the Maple Leafs. So
if you had a bunch of maple leafs exiting the team bus, how would you write that? LEAF apostrophe S?
No.
Or no, you wouldn't use the apostrophe. You just have the S.
Yeah.
Would it be leaves or would it be V or
Leafs.
F?
Leafs. The Leafs.
With what
The
letter?
Leafs. S.
No, with an F, or a V?
F.
Huh.
Leafs.
I don't know if
Says
that's
it,
correct.
Says it on the jersey.
I think they spelt it wrong.
Well, that's because it's plural. But if you had like three,
And it's a proper name. It's a proper noun. It's
That's why?
They created a name. Yeah.
but if you had like three of something, you'd call it try. And if you had two of something, you would call it
Bye.
Bye. Also, if you went both ways. SmartLess is 100% organic and artisanally handcrafted by Rob Armjarv, Bennett Barbaco, and Michael Grant-Terry. SmartLess. Our next episode will be out in a week wherever you listen to podcasts, or you can listen to it right now early on Amazon Music, or early and ad-free by subscribing to Wondery Plus in Apple Podcasts or the Wondery app.